to this. Like, I'm just shooting B-roll of random stuff that is completely irrelevant for the video, actually, just so that I have a cool intro, but yeah, it's completely unnecessary, so let's get to this. Hello everybody, welcome to this new video. Thanks for tuning in this week, and today's topic is how to create depth in your photos. As you know, we as photographers capture images of three-dimensional scapes in a two-dimensional image and try to make it look as three-dimensional as possible, and that is basically what we're talking about today, how you can make a 2D image look as 3D as possible by using different techniques with which you can create more depth. I've got 3 for you today, so let's get straight into that. So, tip or technique number 1 is to look for leading lines. You've probably heard of leading lines before when talking about photo composition. These are basically just lines that guide the viewer's eye to your subject. So in this example right here, this photo shows a tram in the middle of the picture, and 2 tracks which the tram drives on, they kind of lead to that subject, and that is basically what leading lines do. They lead the eye to the subject, and this is a very good example in my opinion, because you can actually see how these lines move together to the subject, and by moving together you can actually create depth, because you can see that it's a 3D image. You can see the foreground where the tracks are further apart, and then when they come closer that is further behind in the image, and you can actually really understand what is the foreground and what is the background, or what is the subject in this photo. Tip or technique number 2 is to create layers. What do I mean with layers? I mean that you separate your photo, as we did actually in the first technique, in foreground, middle ground and background. And your subject is typically going to be in the middle ground, at least that is what I'm trying to show you in this photo right here. You can see in this example that there's a foreground, there's something hiding this very good looking sandwich, and the sandwich is then actually the focus of the image, which is in the middle ground, and the background is blurred out. And this creates good depth in your photos, because you can actually see that there's something behind, that it goes further behind the burger or the sandwich, whatever you want to call it. And you can actually see that there's something in front of it as well, and by covering a little bit of it, or a little bit of the lens with something in front, that can create good depth. At least I personally think that this looks really good, and that is basically another technique of how you can create depth in your photos and let your viewers see a more 3D looking image than a 2D looking image, even though it actually technically is 2D. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. And the third and last tip or technique is layers again, actually, but this time a different kind of layers. If you look at this photo right here, from the cliffs in Ibiza, you can actually see in the background the mountains. They slowly fade out of the image and they get kind of hazy back there. And that is due to, well, I'm not really good at explaining it. It's some sort of science stuff, and I just take the photo, right? So I can't really explain it. But basically, the light or something gets less back there, or whatever. It gets hazy back there, right? That's what I'm trying to say. So the mountains in the foreground are going to be clearer than the mountains in the background, and by doing that you can easily create some extra depth in your photos. So if you're looking at your landscape maybe one day while shooting, and you think, this image just doesn't look deep enough, could you say that? This image just doesn't have enough depth, and then you can just go look for something like this where you can see more mountains in the background, because by doing that you can actually create more depth, because yeah, they said you can see all the haze and stuff. And all in all, if you are in that situation that you're looking for more depth, don't only go looking for those mountains, of course. Try out the other 2 techniques. Go looking for leading lines, or try to separate your photo clearly into foreground, middle ground and background. And that's basically it for today. If you found any valuable information in this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.